Joining us right now, the Wall Street Journal's global economics editor, John Hilsenrath. John, good to see you. Thanks for weighing in here.
Good morning.
And, of course, this back and forth brings new questions over where the agenda stands, especially the focus is shifting to tax reform. Look, the House is out and about the month of August trying to push tax reform. We know that Kevin Brady's been out. Paul Ryan sat down with me. Will they get it done?
Well, you know, I think they have to get it done after what happened on health care. They have to get something done. I don't know if it's going to reach the ambitions that the president has set out of a 15% corporate tax rate, but I think this is an area where everyone has their interests aligned. And even though McConnell and the president are fighting now over what happened with health care, the president's two senior-most economic advisors, Stephen Mnuchin and Gary Cohn, have been working very closely with McConnell on putting together a tax plan. So, you know, I think we shouldn't let this fiery rhetoric that we're seeing on health care distract us from what's going on behind the scenes on taxes.
Yeah, I do think that they're going to get this done because I think that they recognize if they don't get this done, there are real implications. Having said that, time is running out. It could actually end up being just tax cuts.
Absolutely.
And not real reform in terms of changing the deductions, doing away with certain deductions and the simplicity of it.
John, I'll have to ask you this. Do you feel like it's tough to win by losing? And so in this case, you've got a loss on health care, and we want to believe that tax reform will happen. Is it worth, I mean, the president is basically saying, double down and make health care happen. There's a path to it. Is it worth revisiting that as a path to making tax reform possible?
Well, you know, it seems to me that health care is now going on a different track. You have the chair of the health committee in the Senate, who's Lamar Alexander, who's looking at holding hearings, and it looks like it's going down a slower path. But, you know, I think they really have to get focused on taxes. But even before we talk about taxes, September is a very busy month for Congress in terms of dealing with a debt ceiling increase, which is not going to be easy or simple to do. Continuing resolutions on spending to prevent a shutdown of the government altogether, and putting together a budget resolution for 2018, which becomes the vehicle for doing tax reform. So there isn't room in this agenda to go back to health care because they have so much else to do. It literally is immediately after they get back from this recess.
Every member of Congress, particularly in the Senate, those Republicans should have to wear T-shirts that say excessive expectations. That is exactly the way the American people feel about these bozos, for lack of a better word. And yeah, I meant to insult them because when it comes to President Trump has every right to be furious about their lack of action on health care because of all the years that they had. And can we go back to 1981? I know it was a different time. I know that we were coming out of literally a decade of malaise in terms of economic growth, runaway inflation. But Ronald Reagan was shot. And 3 weeks after that, he stood up in front of Congress and talked about the need to revive the economy through tax cuts. And they got that done by August of 1981. August. So I think that when they have set the bar, the expectations are so low, it's embarrassing that they can't get anything done.
Can I say one thing about the expectations? The president is absolutely right. Republicans had 7 years to put together some plan that they could all agree upon and come in and vote on. But here's the thing in McConnell's defense. We knew when this president was sworn in, they hadn't done that. You know, so we had been watching for 7 years, and we had seen that they didn't have a plan. You know, the House had been working on some of these issues, but there was nothing, there was no blueprint for them to work on. So, you know, I think it's shame on everybody in this case because they had all this time, they didn't use it, and they knew that. And they made promises they couldn't live up to when everybody knew that.
For McConnell to blame the president because he's new at the job and he's not in politics is so ridiculous, really. I mean, I can't even believe he said it.
Politically foolish, too. There's not a single grassroots Republican that puts the blame at President Trump. They look at him and say, it's your job, Mitch McConnell, to get it done.
Yeah, which is why you have to keep asking the question, do these guys really want him to succeed? There is a pocket of the Republican Party who really could care less if President Trump succeeds. That's how I see it.
I think it's bigger than a pocket, too. And
Well,
they're getting back at him. They're getting back at him because he destroyed the Republican Party.
Right.
And establishment Republicans as we know them. And they're getting back at him.
Including John McCain. Let's call it out right now. Including John McCain. He comes out and he's the final vote and he votes no. What was that all about? Come on. It's so obvious what he did.
What they don't realize is he didn't kill the Republican Party. He saved it. It was a Republican Party increasingly irrelevant from what real people think, how working people live. He revived the ability for it to be viable, and they can't figure that out. And you're right. It's John McCain, who I have loved for a long time.
Me too.
It's John McCain. It's Mitch McConnell. It's Ben Sass. It's all these guys who think a lot of themselves. Murkowski, Susan Collins, but don't understand what average people feel and that they want things to actually happen.
Here's the thing, folks. It's the congressional Republicans who come up to vote first in 2018 before the president does. And if they lose power in the House or Senate, I think this president will work with Democrats. I think he's going to want to get deals done.
For sure.
And so if the Republican Party doesn't work for him, then he'll work with Democrats. And let's not forget, he's got some Democrats in his cabinet. Steve Mnuchin was donating to Democrats before he became a Republican Treasury Secretary.
Gary Cohn as well. Quite a few, actually. John, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Sure thing.
John Hilsenrath there.